Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of sports, pop culture, lifestyle, everything really depending on the guests talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. This is one of our exclusive 2020 NHL Draft interviews where we talk to players who will have the chance to get their name called and they are one step closer to playing in the National Hockey League. And we're speaking to a player who is currently committed to the University of Notre Dame. We're talking to Ryder Rolston. Ryder, welcome to Popternative, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. I know we've wanted to do this for a while, but I'm glad we're finally able to get this done, man.
Absolutely.
It's calm before the storm, but it's kind of weird because we're talking about the NHL draft, but we're in October.
Yeah, it's super weird, especially because it's during the week. Like, never happens. So
I know
it'll be interesting.
No, absolutely. Right off the bat, you know, you played for, I believe, Waterloo in the USHL, and I've watched that league for a long time. That is a very good hockey league. That is a very good junior league. There are so many good players in that. How did that league kind of help you become a better player heading into NCAA?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's the best league, you know, to prepare for the next level. And I think I was lucky enough to spend 3 years in that league. And I think that I took, you know, big steps as a player, you know, and got to focus on aspects of my game that I really wanted to develop. And, you know, going into this year at Notre Dame, I'm really confident in myself and the things that I learned playing in the USHL. So if it wasn't for the opportunity to play in the USHL, you know, play for Waterloo in the National Team Development Program, I don't think I'd be here today. So.
No, absolutely. People might recognize your last name. I mean, your father had an amazing career in the National Hockey League, played with the New Jersey Devils, the Boston Bruins, the Minnesota Wild, just an amazing career. People that have watched you, obviously, your style is a little bit different than your dad. And I find that's kind of interesting as well. But I mean, kind of growing up with your dad, was it kind of like at a really young age that you kind of saw him, like, you know, at the pro level? You're like, this is obviously something I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty special just having the opportunity to grow around, you know, the NHL. It's what I remember ever since I was, you know, playing hockey. I was so little, so I don't really know any better. And, you know, the thing that's really special is I kind of got that behind the scenes look that, you know, a lot of people don't get, you know, being in the dressing room with these players that are looked up to by, you know, everybody in the hockey world, and just kind of see how they conduct themselves and, you know, go about their everyday life and prepare. You know, it's something pretty special. And, you know, besides my dad being able to see all that, is kind of, you know, showed me a way to conduct myself on a professional level, but also, you know, just kind of put into perspective what you need to do to be successful.
And obviously that's a very good asset to have. I mean, your father played over 10 years. How many official years did he play in the National Hockey League? It was
18.
Yeah, 18 years. Like, you just and like on the team and playing the games and everything. You know what I mean? Like, for most of his career, which is unbelievable. What advice did he kind of give you specifically also for the NHL draft? Because there's going to be a lot going through your head right now.
Absolutely, you know, and it's been really special to kind of go through this process with him by my side. But, you know, the biggest thing is just he's let me go through it myself. He hasn't been in my ear too much. And, you know, him going through this process and playing for as long as he did, he knows, you know, what it entails and is able to kind of take that back seat and let me just experience it for myself. And I think that's really special just because, you know, him letting me go through it on my own and him not really talking to me too much and kind of creating a little bit more pressure than, you know, should be there. And I think that's been something really special. But obviously I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And this week's going to be something really special. So I can't wait.
It's really, it's like, it's happening a lot more now, you know, when you look at, you know, the Kachucks, and you look at, you know, you even go back to like Zach Parise, there's a lot of, you know, American hockey players that they're kids are getting drafted and developing and becoming national hockey players. Are you kind of seeing that more and more? Like, are you like playing or have friends that have fathers that like, are you seeing that more of a trend? Like, are you kind of like there? Because I feel like it's happening a lot more. Like,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
I think it kind of goes back to the fact that, you know, you experience it your whole life and kind of are grown up in that culture, you know, like guys like Brendan Brisson that I played this year. Obviously his dad's big in the hockey world. Danny Waite too. I have a really long history with him. I've known him ever since I was probably 8 years old and grown up with him. So, and obviously there's a longer list of guys, but it's something that's a lot more prevalent. Jake Sanderson as well. Also somebody that I've grown up with. So it's pretty special. And I think it's really cool to see just the second generation of players.
No, absolutely. It is crazy. There's a lot of things that people say kind of on social media about the draft. There's the rankings and everything. And you know what? Let's be honest. You might say otherwise, but you know what? Like sometimes players kind of take a look at those rankings. It happens. You know what I mean? Maybe they shouldn't, but they look at it. How have you specifically, Ryder, like trained yourself to kind of block out social media and the rankings and everything and just kind of focus on the task at hand?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you think about just because the NHL Draft's such a big deal and you're constantly, you know, growing up watching people get drafted and kind of imagining what it would be like. But I think at the end of the day, it's just living in the moment. Like this year, even talking to my dad and other players as well that he played with and just kind of picking their brain on how to go about things. It's not really getting caught up in the social media world because at the end of the day, anything can happen in the draft. And especially this year, you really have no idea what's going to happen due to the season being postponed and canceled. So, and the biggest thing that I've tried to do this year is just enjoy the process. You know, this is the only time in your life you're going to be talking with every NHL team and going through the draft process of just interacting, getting to know them getting to know you. So, the biggest thing that I've tried to do is kind of stay away from looking at all the rankings. Whatever happens. And I've just tried to really enjoy this process.
No, that's great. It's a great answer as well. In terms of the one thing I've kind of noticed is obviously like I grew up, you know, playing hockey, but I played other sports as well. You know what I mean? And I thought that was kind of an important thing. And I'm sure you kind of played other sports as well, but you took hockey seriously. Is that something that's not talked about as much? That's important. Like I feel like it is important to kind of play more than one sport. Have your main sport, but it's important to play other sports too. Have you ever thought about that?
Absolutely. You know, and I think that playing other sports is going to help you, you know, even in the hockey world, because you're going to learn different ways to you know, play and think. And I think that, you know, growing up as a kid, you want to interact with your friends and not all of them are hockey players, right? Especially the kids you go to school with. So I think it's a good release from the game as well, but also just teaches you a way to, you know, expand your horizons and play new things. So it was definitely something that I did growing up and kind of getting away from hockey and getting to meet new people and, you know, be able to interact with my classmates more.
Absolutely. You're at University of Notre Dame right now, so you are an NCAA hockey player. The college hockey is just like one of my favorite products. It is so good. The players are so good. You have the freshmen that come in. Like it's a great product, okay? For you specifically, what do you think is the appeal with college hockey? Like why do you think it's becoming so popular?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes along with the student athlete experience, you know, and especially here at the University of Notre Dame, just the community here, the academics is something really special. And, you know, I think that it kind of gets in the way of some other hockey players that your world only revolves around hockey and you're going to miss out on some of the experiences a normal kid per se would, you know, experience if you weren't playing hockey. So, I think that's an aspect of it, the school part of things. But, you know, I think hockey itself in college has really, really grown. You see more and more players getting produced from the college level and being able to step into the National Hockey League pro ranks and make an impact right away.
100%. I love it, man. I mean, people don't realize, like, I mean, you look at players like Jake Gensel on the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a player that played college hockey and was kind of under the radar and has become one of the best players in the National Hockey League. There's a lot of players like that, Ryan Dzingel. There's so many players that like have the chance to kind of develop in college hockey and then could play pro sooner than later. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's a good opportunity for you. But I mean, we're kind of in history right now. I mean, like this pandemic is like history in the making. Like it's like this has never happened before. And you know, the NHL draft is obviously going to be. It's not going to be like an ordinary draft because you and your family don't have the chance to go to Montreal. And well, like for your dad, maybe that's a good thing. Being a big Bruins player. But no, my point is though, I mean, it's calm before the storm. It's a bit strange right now. You don't get a chance to actually go physically to the draft, but it will be kind of a special moment with your family. And it's one of those things where like it's a date that I don't think you're gonna kind of forget about. But one of those things where how do you kind of set yourself up though for like, because it's unknown right now. Like you don't know where you're gonna get drafted. You don't, like some people were even saying that I was interviewing, you don't even know if you're going to get drafted. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's a tough one. So like, how have you prepared for that as well?
Yeah. I mean, we've been in the dark. Like I could probably speak on behalf of all prospects. You really don't know what's going to happen, where you're going to get drafted, if you're going to get drafted. And, you know, it's something that is hard to kind of live in the moment with because you're constantly thinking about like, how different it is and what may happen. But I think at this point, you just kind of have to accept it. And I think I've kind of done a good job of that and kind of made the most of the situation. So it'll be interesting. Like the draft's during the week, it's on Wednesday. I'm going to be in class in the morning and, you know, that'll be an interesting dynamic, but my family will be here. So that's going to be good. And we'll see what happens.
No, absolutely. Ryder, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really appreciated this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Why should an NHL team draft Ryder Rolston?
Well, I think it's going to start off with the fact that I've grown around the NHL, and I think that I've noticed and kind of learned the things that you have to do to be successful at the next level. I've been around players, not only my dad, but just other players that conduct themselves in ways of being leaders, being able to, you know, teach ways of winning. And I think that kind of goes towards my game and the way that I play. I think I bring a speed game and, you know, the NHL is transitioning to that fast game. You need to be able to skate to have success. And I think that my speed will be able to translate to the NHL level pretty well. And I'm taking steps to being a two-way responsible player. And I think that you need to do that to have a career and stick at the NHL level.
Absolutely, man. And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
Yeah. Ryder Rolston on Instagram and Ryder Rolston on Twitter as well.
Amazing, man. Well, seriously, congrats on all your success so far in junior hockey. And I wish you all the best in college hockey. And I wish you all the best with the National Hockey League draft, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Ryder Rolston and Peter Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.